Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to use a tube of quad or sealant or construction adhesive or caulk. So essentially they're all different tubed goods that have something inside of it that usually relates to a chemical bond. So this is a caulking gun. It's a very basic caulking gun. There's a lot better ones out there. I'm going to push this little release mechanism and pull this back. Then I drop the tube all the way in and tip it out. That releases my tube of caulk. And go and squeeze the handle to advance the mechanism. Release it. This here pokes a hole. So if this is already used and filled up, poke a new hole in there. If stuff comes out, that means that this is still good. It was wet. If it's all dry inside, the tube's probably no good. So then we can go and swing this guy back around. Hopefully we don't get our hands all gummed up. There we go. Now when I go to place this in, drop it in, advance it forward. It's going to come in sealed, and your first cut is kind of important because it determines the diameter of the material that's going to come out and advance through it. So when I go to cut this, I'm going to cut it a little bit on an angle, and I'm going to cut it at about the diameter I want my bead to be. So if I was going to do this for countertops, I'd probably do even a little bit smaller. If I'm going to do this for, let's say, between wood siding and brick, right, I would go about like a 3/8 to 1/4 inch hole on that. And so when you cut the tube open, you basically are determining the diameter of the size, and you typically want to cut that on an angle. And when we go to do this, there's then a seal around the bottom that we need to break through. So on a typical caulking gun, it has a little prong that you can swing out to try and poke through, but oftentimes these aren't long enough to poke through the seal that's on the bottom. So I went and grabbed a 4-inch screw, and I'm just going to be able to poke the bottom like that and get that adhesive free. Then what I do is I push the release button, pull this all the way back, then I can drop in the tube and push it forward and squeeze to advance. Now that that's squeezed, we can go and push, and we can start to see the sealant advance through. Once it's advanced through, we can go and lay down our bead of it. Now with quad, we would typically use this between two different materials joining together, and that allows for expansion and contraction of those materials while maintaining a nice weather tight seal. Or we can use it for any kind of like exterior siding sealant, right? It's like a weatherproofing material. But there's also stuff we can put in our caulking gun, like Gorilla Glue or construction adhesive, and this stuff works the same way. You would go, and what's nice about these nozzles on this one is you can twist it off, you can puncture through or cut through the tube, and then put the nozzle back on, and then you can cut the nozzle to the desired size or shape. And if the tube is still good, when you poke through, you should be able to punch all the way through, and then when you go to squeeze it through, it'll come out. If it's not even poking through, that means your tube probably went bad. This one was from last year, and so since it was open and nothing was covering this hole like a piece of tape, it went bad. So if we're not going to use the whole tube, like this one here, and I need to save it, I'm going to put a piece of plastic over this, and then I might tap a little nail in there as well to just keep that nice and tight and open for next time. So in order to do that, I'm going to go over to the tape. I could even take a little piece of Tyvek, or I could take like a piece of plastic. And once I got that on there, then I can go and take a nail that'll work, and I'm just going to go and just kind of lightly push that in and through, and then that's how I'm going to try and keep this good for next time. I could also just take a piece of tape, right, and seal it up that way as well. The idea here is that we're going to just go through a little bit of effort to try and keep this tube from going bad, so we can use it later on. And now it's ready to go for the next person that's ready to use it.